All right, so what else did we cover in the legislature this week? Well, we covered 13 things. 5 Senate bills, including guns at events on state property, paid signature gatherers, religious counselor rights, EMS, and election security. In the House, we covered 8 additional items and a lot to do with education, like Holocaust education, sex ed, harmful materials in libraries, and funding school infrastructure and grant programs. So let's see where some of the main legislation we covered ended up at the end of the week. On Monday, we talked about 4 different bills, including Senate Bill 1352. The bill wants to give counselors and therapists the right to refuse service based on deeply held religious beliefs. Those in opposition say, at best, this proposed bill goes against the industry's code of ethics, and at worst, it would actually legalize discrimination. However, bill supporters argued that counselors are forced to agree with morally imperfect people. On Monday, the bill passed the House floor, and on Wednesday, the bill was delivered to the governor's desk to be signed into law. Tuesday, we checked in on 2 pieces of legislation, including Senate Bill 1416. It moves emergency medical services out from the Department of Health and Welfare and under the Office of Emergency Management, thus establishing EMS as an essential service. The bill would only offset the cost of staff and equipment, but still, those against the bill are worried about funding it. Those for it say it cuts down response times in rural counties.
A body recovery versus somebody who's actually been saved.
House Bill 1416 passed the Senate and heads to the House State Affairs Committee. On Wednesday, we covered a slew of bills, 5 to be exact. We'll focus on the most important one, House Bill 710, which is the 3rd attempt at prohibited materials in libraries, which some are still wondering, is it necessary?
Oh, Grandma, I hear worse than that at the bike rack.
This version still identifies any material containing homosexuality as harmful to minors, but it includes a partial description of the 3-pronged Miller test, which the United States Supreme Court deemed as what determines obscenity. It also says a complaint would either move a book to the adult section or open up the library for a civil lawsuit for $250. A far cry from last year's library bill, which threatened jail time for librarians and stiff fines for libraries.
I was abused. I knew it was wrong, but I didn't have the words to say what was happening to me. But reading about some other little girl's story who grew up a lot like me, I realized that I did matter.
House Bill 710 was held in committee at the call of the chair. We could or should see it again, and the committee will likely give it a vote to send it to the Senate floor, or maybe not. On Thursday, we talked about 2 major pieces of legislation. The first, House Bill 722. The bill puts $71 million towards funding the Idaho Launch Program. The grants cover 80% of tuition and fees at Idaho's colleges and technical schools for graduating high school seniors that are pursuing degrees and certifications in in-demand fields. Some lawmakers think that it's a handout that students don't need, but others say it can change lives.
I just do not think that this is the proper role of government.
These were first-generation kids. It's going to change the trajectory of their future and their children's future and every generation after that.
House Bill 722 passed the House and is now in the Senate Finance Committee. The second important bill from Thursday, House Bill 521.
Every single year, we even call them going home bills.
We were being told behind the scenes at the State House that this piece of legislation was held hostage for other legislation to get a look. You know, all kinds of backroom trading. But this week, it actually did see the light of the Senate floor. The historic $2 billion 10-year plan Governor Little laid out in his State of the State back in January, it takes burden off of local property taxes to help pay for school buildings.
Let's dedicate the $2 billion in school facilities now to modernize school infrastructure and address unmet critical maintenance.
Despite lawmakers pointing out the bill's problems, House Bill 521 passed the Senate and is heading to the governor's desk to be signed into law. Yesterday, Governor Little wrote, "Thank you and congratulations to the legislature." And finally on Friday, we have an update on House Bill 668. The proposal bans the use of all public funds, including Medicaid coverage, to pay for any surgical operations or medical interventions for the purpose of gender transition, regardless if this is for a minor or an adult in Idaho. Those for the legislation believe it saves Idaho taxpayers money. Those against it say these are life-saving procedures and we should be getting out of the way of doctors to let them decide. Today, Friday, House Bill 668 passed the Idaho Senate and soon will be heading to the governor's desk for consideration to be signed into law. So Governor Little is going home happy this week, and the legislature, they believe they could be on track to wrap up the whole thing next Friday, March 29th. We'll keep you posted on the big wrap-up, but for now, that's a legislative wrap.